Hey everybody, hopefully we're coming at you over the interweb, as I notice they all call it now. Interweb.
On a rainy Saturday evening.
We're just remembering dial-up internet this evening, weren't we? Ah, the good old bad old days.
No. The kids would have had much more trouble sneaking onto the internet in those days.
It's true, yes, true. Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Streaming.
You're going to say paste there.
Oh yes, I will. Saturday Streaming number 13. Chloe's just reminded me, sorry, I'll just say that Chloe's just reminded me that I'm going to put a link, people have reminded me of this a couple of times, for those who want to donate, there's now a link in the comments. We're getting fancy. Good luck, number 13. Welcome to Variety Night number 2. As John Lennon says, reality leaves a lot to the imagination. And that's what the thesis tonight, I think. Welcome to for those newcomers, this is our studio here in Millthorpe. What do you mean where? Millthorpe, we're in the soft country, in the Tablelands of New South Wales. So Sydney is just behind you over there, 250 kilometres that way. Off to the north here, you've got, well, all the way to the Queensland border if you keep going. Thinking of you guys down in Victoria, and that sun setting in the west behind me. It's Wiradjuri country, the land of the three rivers for the Aboriginal people. Always was, is, always will be Wiradjuri country. And we like to remember that before we start just about anything. Very, very pleased that we can call this place home. It's a very special part of the world. Welcome, no matter where you are. We've got tonight a list that just covers almost all kind of corners of Australia. We're going to start with some Mazurkas, a set of tunes that I like very much. Hi Carol, hey Tony. Nice to see some regulars as well as some new faces. Yeah. Two of these three Mazurkas we learnt from the playing of a fella called Vaughan Kyle. He was a wonderful old fella. He grew up at the Nulla. His family actually were next door neighbours to Slim and his family, Slim Dusty and his family at Nulla Creek, just out of Kempsey. He was a great fiddle player. He wrote tunes and he played in the Willawarra Bush Band.
That's right. And
we recorded a whole bunch of tunes up in his house there. He hated the capo. I remember, he said, you'd be all right on that guitar if you got rid of that thing, he said. He was an old bushman. He'd worked in the bush his whole life. He was a wonderful man to hang out with. We learnt a lot. One of his special skills as a bushman was that he could howl up dingoes.
Oh, it would raise the hairs on the back of your neck, actually.
And while we were there recording tunes with Vaughan, we had to take a break because the local ABC had sort of got onto the fact that we were up there with Rob Willis and Bruce Cameron from Bathurst and Rob from Forbes, and so they were sort of got a bit of a news story going around Vaughan, and they found out he could howl up dingoes, and they couldn't resist, so he had to get on the phone, and he did. Now, we heard it, and I don't know if you've ever heard anyone howl up dingoes, but it's quite a sound. Get the hairs going on the back of your neck. And he did. He howled up dingoes on the phone. And that's great. We found out later from the ABC that they'd received a call from someone who actually was living still out in the bush outside of Kempsey, right up in the sticks, who had the radio on and their door open and couldn't keep the dingoes out of the lounge room when he howled them up. So, yes. And I noticed that they've just rediscovered, after really being worried about purebred alpine dingoes, they've just found another dingo pup down there, a second one over the last little while, a purebred alpine dingo pup. So here's a set for Vaughan Kyle and for dingoes everywhere. there, I think. One more, Chloe. Bring it home for Vaughan. Something about those old dance tunes and variety nights. I think just about every variety night we've ever played, and we've played a few.
Gotta have some tunes.
You've got to have some tunes and some dancing as well. That's the whole idea of the variety night. Whether it's at a festival or if you go back further in the old halls, you got a bit of everything, you know. And it was that chance. Always at the festival, all the acts would come along, including us, and do something they hadn't done in their concerts. You know, something a little bit different. And those tunes also show that great link between Kempsey and the New England. So lots of music in common. The great wealth of dance music in the New England, and it turns out down in Kempsey too, in that road up to Nulla Creek and through Bellbrook. Rob Willis collected a full set of the Lancers from Bellbrook relatively recently too. Anyway, we'll sing a song now. It's got a chorus if anyone's out there and wants to join in. This is a Bill Scott song, but we actually learnt it, or should I say we heard Michael O'Rourke sing this on an old CD that Greg O'Leary had given us. And when we arranged Hey Rain, I thought I'd been inspired by listening to Michael sing it and his arrangement of it. It's one of those things where we didn't listen again, we just arranged it as best we could. And when I heard Michael sing it again on the CD, it would actually not very much like Michael at all, but you could sort of see why I'd say that.
He swung it a certain way.
He did swing it a certain way, dreamy and rainy, and yeah, Hey Rain, it's a beautiful song. We actually learnt it for our first trip over to Europe. We wanted to take some geography with us. I'm glad we did, because when we got there was a very common understanding. It was our first trip, so this is 2004. And we found there was a certain idea across Europe that Australia was sort of a desert and an opera house and a bridge. And it was good to take some wet season music as well as a few other songs from different parts, telling different stories from around this big, big country. And I'm glad we did. And while everyone spoke English, actually we landed in Copenhagen, and I got lost at the airport. That was our first stop, and I said, I ran into a fella trying to find the band and everything. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate, I'm a little bit lost. I don't suppose you happen to speak English?" He said, "Yes, but not Australian." You know, and it was common that they spoke English far better than we do, probably. But they didn't get necessarily the subtleties. So we were trying to introduce people to the idea of wet season rain, and as the tour went on, the introductions got more and more sort of strange and obscure and extreme, I think. It's fair to say. And after a couple of months, we ended up in Brittany, just next to France there. And
which is a good place to be expansive.
Yes. And we were in this, there was a little caravan park with about 100 people in a little shed. And it was a variety night, it really was, if you think about it.
Every night was.
Every night was. And Chloe said, "Look folks, wet season rain, it's big rain. It's the kind of rain that's got a frog in every drop." She'd forgotten where we were at this point.
But everybody chuckled good-naturedly in the audience. Yeah.
A fella up the back said, "Well, we wouldn't go hungry then." Anyway, please do sing along with Hey Rain. And Lonnie's out there too, and Kathy. Wow, we got a lot of singers.
Good, good.
Hey Rick, Aladullas in tonight, Chloe. I hope you enjoyed the dance tunes, mate. I know you're a fan like I am. But this is Hey Rain. And we actually play a dance tune on the end from much closer to home.
Rain on my hair and rain on my face. This muddy old Innisfail's a muddy, wet place. Hey, rain.
Hey Rain.
Well, a bloke from the west, he nearly died of fright, 'cause the river rose 35 feet last night.
Hey Rain. Hey Rain.
Oh, there's a Johnson River crocodile living in me fridge, and a bloody great tree out on the Jubilee Bridge.
Hey Rain. Hey Rain. I'll sing along, why don't you? Hey rain, rain coming down on the cane, on the roofs of the town.
Well, there's rain in my beer and rain in my grub, and they've just fitted anchors to the Garradunga pub.
Hey, rain. Hey rain.
And the wet season skies have sprung a leak from the Flying Fish Point up to the Mill Stream Creek.
Hey rain. Oh hey rain. Hey rain, rain coming down on the cane, on the roofs of the town. Actually, we've had a lot more snow than rain here lately.
A wet season sky so black and big, and an old flying fox out on a Morton Bay pig.
Hey rain. Hey rain.
It's the worst wet season we've ever had, and I had swim down to Tully, but it's just as bloody bad.
Hey rain. Hey rain. Our last chance. Hey rain, rain coming down on the cane, on the roofs of the town. I have a second last chance. What do you think? Hey rain, rain coming down on the cane, on the roofs of the town. Hey rain. Tracy. Actually got that tune from the playing of a local fiddler, Stan Tracy, quite a legend amongst the players of Australian dance music. Yeah, came from just down the road here, lived a lot of his life in Limerick, but not Limerick Island, but Limerick just down near Crookwell, which is quite close for us, down through Chewina and Trunkie, through the old gold goat track. Not much of a goat track now, actually. It's nearly all tar.
I think it is all tar.
I think that, well, you just wish they'd leave a little bit of dirt on, because when it's tar...
Next thing you know, everybody will be going
right.
through it.
Yeah, but we just stuck it on there because we thought that particularly interesting version of the Connaughtman's Ramble sounded a bit like a storm coming in, and yes, it is an unusual version. But yeah, the Connaughtman's Ramble, Limerick, lots of good Irish folk around Crookwell and Limerick and stuff. Yeah, Stan Tracy tune. We are going to stay home now and sing a song, bit of variety. This is a song. We hadn't written a song for a fair while, and then in about 2005-06, we were approached by the local museum just up the road here. It's a wonderful museum. If ever you call into Millthorpe, go to. It's a big museum now. When I was a kid, it was the site. Well, it was where I learnt that history wasn't kings and queens and prime ministers, because you'd walk in there and I'd see lots of relatives on the wall and various donations that the family had made. And, well, not the actual people on the wall. Is that right? No, the people weren't on the wall. The pictures of the people, stories of the people.
Yeah, they just go up there on Saturdays.
That's right. We hadn't written a song for quite a long time. And, hi Trish. Yeah, and I didn't think that a 16-ton steam traction engine was really the subject we were waiting for.
No, but they rang us up, they said, we've got this engine.
And because
it's fantastic. It's in battlefield condition. In other words, they weren't allowed to fix it, which drove them mad.
All these old retired farmers
they really wanted to
fix this thing.
Not allowed to fix it,
no.
But we could write a song about it. So
yeah, we were inclined to help because that museum had been so, when you're on the road all the time, there's only so much you can do locally. You wish you could do more sometimes. You can, we usually manage to do the carols at Spring Hill, and there's a few things we can do. Well, can do again. Yeah. But writing a song is something we thought we could manage, and they gave us the oral history recordings that they'd made, talking to a bloke who'd owned the engine. His name was Hilton Henry, and it was basically Hilton's words turned into a song. We took it up to the museum to play the folks at the museum, and we played it off a CD actually. I don't think we sung it, we actually recorded it. Yeah. Made a recording.
They wanted a push button, push the button, play the song.
Yeah, if you go to the museum, it's still there, I think. You go and see the engine, you push the button and out we come.
It's not easy to move.
We were really worried. Trevor was there, and it's making me a bit sad actually, because 2 of the 3 people who were there that day have passed away since. But they were really big workers for the museum, and when we played them the song off the CD, they just went silent. Like you're waiting a little bit on tenterhooks, wondering what the reaction will be, and you really don't like it when you want some sort of positive feedback, but nothing. And I think Trevor was the one who said, "Should you tell them or should I?" What? And it was actually... It
was a difference. We think it's only 15 tonnes, not 16 tonnes.
Is that it? What was the horsepower?
It might have been you're right, actually. Yeah. It might have been the horsepower, because it was a matter of how powerful it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was out by 1 digit,
Oh, Marnie's just joined. Hi, Marnie. You'll know the traction engine really, really well. You know the folks we're talking about. Yeah. It is quite a beast, that traction engine. It is really, really impressive. And Hilton's story was... Well, this is what he said about it.
Step up and see my traction engine. She's come all the way from Lincoln, and she's worth £500 I had to pay. She's No, I wouldn't take her. Just give us wood and give us water. She come from Lyndhurst down to Trunky in a day. She needs a steady heat, not red hot, stringy bark or brittle jack, not box. She keeps my boys out chopping in the rain. Keep the oil up to her moving parts, and she'll finish any job she starts. 7 horsepower, good as any train. Wood and water, firebox at your feet. Wood and water, building up steam. Just take those pins out of the axle. She run a gold stamp for a timber mill. Give me any tree and we'll pull that timber down. If it's the light of scrub you're clearing, well, it's as simple, boys, as shearing. Run a chain into an anchor, circle round, knock 'em down, wood and water. A firebox at your feet. Wood and water, building up steam. Building up steam, but cutting chaff's the thing that really makes the business run. 20 ton of chaff a day, 15 bags to the ton. 5 months of the year with the stars bright overhead, with the top tied to the engine and the chaff bags for a bed. Now Lyndhurst Council are a battle as their precious bridges rattle under 16 ton of powerful machine. As we chew up the road in top gear, I can almost hear them swear, just like the governor, they're letting off steam. Wood and water, and a firebox at your feet. Wood and water, building up steam. Building up steam, and steering is a challenge looking 20 yards ahead. But if those chains were tighter, then you'd lose a thumb instead. Don't use the steam brakes much, reverse works down the slope. Yeah, she's a long, long way from England, but the old girl seems to cope with wood and water, and a firebox at your feet. Wood and water, building up steam. Building up steam. Wood and water, and a firebox at your feet. Wood and water, building up steam. Building up steam.
Wood and water. So that's the story of that Hilton told, more or less. Hi, Margaret. Nice to see you. Look, we've got, for our variety night, we like to think of ourselves at the Mystic Park Hotel. But you can be at any Mystic Park, your local Mystic Park Hotel. It's a Mystic Park Hotel of the mind. We've got the Broken Hill Bashers here. They've come as a backing band again. They've been on the Terps, but they're going all right. And we've also spared, well, actually it's cost us nothing, but we've got Bill, the Rooster, coming tonight. And this is a request. It's a story from Henry Lawson. And it is variety night, so we thought it'd be a good one to throw in. It's for Bill Arnett. Billy, if you're out there, or when you're out there, funny thing about these online gigs, we never know where you are or when you are. But but this is for you, mate. You know, all the very best from us. Yeah, you're an inspiration, and been a big help to us over many, many years. So we thank you. But Bill, the ventriloquial rooster, it's quite a story. It's quite a story, and it is Lawson, so it's quite local too. Chloe's going to play a few local tunes and a few from further away to set the story off a little bit. When we were up country on the selection, we had a rooster at our place named Bill, said Mitchell. A big mongrel of no particular breed, though the old lady said he was a Brahma, and many an argument she had with the old man about it too. She was just as stubborn and obstinate in her opinion as the governor was in his. But anyway, we called him Bill and didn't take any particular notice of him till a cousin of some of us came from Sydney on a visit to the country and stayed at our place because it was cheaper than stopping at the pub. Well, somehow this chap got interested in Bill and studied him for 2 or 3 days, and at last he says, "Why, that Rooster is a ventriloquist." "A what?" "A ventriloquist." "Go along with ya." But he is. I've heard of cases like this before, but this is the first I've come across. Bill's a ventriloquist, right enough. And then we remembered that there wasn't another rooster within 5 miles. Our only neighbour, an Irishman named Page, didn't have one at the time, and we'd often heard a cock crow, but didn't think to take any notice of it. We watched Bill, and sure enough, he was a ventriloquist. The cocker would come out all right, but the cock-a-roo seemed to come from a distance. And sometimes the whole crow would go wrong and come back like an echo that had been lost for a year. Bill would stand on tiptoe and hold his elbows out and curve his neck and go 2 or 3 times as if he was swallowing nest eggs, nearly break his neck and burst his gizzard, and then there'd be no sound at all where he was, only a cock crowing in the distance. And pretty soon we could see that Bill was in great trouble about it himself. You see, he didn't know it was himself. Thought it was another rooster challenging him, and he wanted badly to find that other bird. He'd get up on the wood heap and crow and listen, and crow and listen again, crow and listen, and then he'd go up to the top of the paddock, get up on the stack and crow and listen there. Then down to the other end of the paddock and get up on the mullock heap and crow and listen there. Then across to the other side and up on a log among the saplings and crow and listen some more. He searched all over the place for that other rooster, but of course he couldn't find him. Sometimes he'd be out all day crowing and listening all over the country, and then come home dead tired and rest and cool off in a hole that the hens had scratched for him in a damp place under the water cask sledge. Well, one day Page brought home a big white rooster, and when he let it go, it climbed up on Page's stack and crowed to see if there was any more roosters round there. Bill had come home tired. It was a hot day, and he'd rooted out the hens, and he was having a spellow under the cask when the white rooster crowed. Bill didn't lose any time getting out and onto the wood heap, and then he waited till he heard the crow again. Then he crowed, and the other rooster crowed again, and they crowed at each other for 3 days, and called each other all the wretches they could lay their tongues to, and after that implored each other to come out and be made into chicken soup and feather pillows. But neither had come. You see, there were 3 crows. There was Bill's crow, and the ventriloquist crow, and the white rooster's crow, and each rooster thought that there was 2 roosters in the opposition camp and that he mightn't get fair play, and consequently both were afraid to come and put up their hands. But at last Bill couldn't stand it any longer. He made up his mind to go and have it out, even if there was a whole agricultural show of prize and honourable mention fighting cocks in Page's yard. He got down from the wood heap, started off across the ploughed field, his head down, his elbows out, and his thick, awkward legs prodding away at the furrows behind for all they were worth. I wanted to go down badly and see the fight and barrack for Bill, but I daren't, because I'd been coming up the road late the night before with my brother Joe, and there was about 3 panels of turkeys roosting along the top rail of Page's front fence. And we brushed them with a bough, and they got up such a blessed gobbling fuss about it that Page came out in his shirt and saw us running away. I knew he was laying for us with a bullet whip. Besides, there was friction between the 2 families, account of a thoroughbred bull that Page borrowed and wouldn't lend to us, and that got into our paddock, on account of me mending a panel in the party fence, carelessly leaving the top rail down after sundown while our cows was moving around in the saplings. So, there was too much friction for me to go down, but I climbed a tree as near the fence as I could and watched. Bill reckoned he'd found that rooster at last. The white rooster wouldn't come down from the stack, so Bill went up to him and they fought, and they tumbled down the other side. I couldn't see any more. Wasn't I wild? I'd have given my dog to have seen the rest of the fight. I went down to the far side of Page's fence and climbed a tree there, but of course I couldn't see anything, so I came home the back way. Just as I got home, Page came round to the front and sang out, "Inside there!" And me and Jim went under the house, like snakes, looking around behind a pile, but Page was all right. He had a broad grin on his face, and Bill safe under his arm. He put Bill down on the ground very carefully, and says he to the old folks, "Your rooster knocked the stuffing out of my rooster, but I bear no malice. 'Twas a grand fight." And then the old man and Page had a yarn and got pretty friendly after that, and Bill didn't seem to bother about any more ventriloquism, but the white rooster spent a lot of time looking for that other rooster. Perhaps he thought he'd have better luck with him. But Page was on the lookout all the time to get a rooster that would lick owls. He did nothing else for a month but ride around and inquire about roosters, and at last he borrowed a game bird in town, left £5 deposit on him, and brought him home. And Page and the old man agreed to have a match, about the only thing they had agreed about for 5 years. And they fixed it up for a Sunday when the old lady and the girls and the kids were going on a visit to some relations, about 15 miles away, to stop all night. The governor made me go with them on horseback. But I knew what was up, and so my pony went lame about a mile along the road, and I had to come back and turn him out in the top paddock and hide the saddle and bridle in a hollow log and sneak home and climb up on the roof of the shed. It was an awful hot day, and I had to keep climbing backward and forward over the ridgepole all morning to keep out of sight of the old man, for he was moving about a good deal. Well, after dinner, the fellows from round about began to ride in and hung up their horses round the place till it looked like there was going to be a funeral. Some of the chaps saw me, of course, but I tipped them the wink and they gave me the office whenever the old man happened around. Well, Page came along with his game rooster. His name was Jim. Wasn't much to look at. It seemed a good deal smaller and weaker than Bill. Some of the chaps were disgusted and said it wasn't a game rooster at all. Bill had settled it in one lick, and they wouldn't have any fun. Well, they brought the game one out and put him down near the wood heap and routed Bill out from under his cask. He got interested at once. He looked at Jim, got up on the wood heap and crowed and looked at Jim again. He reckoned this, at last, was the fowl that had been humbugging him all along. Presently, his trouble caught him, and then he'd crow and take a squint at the gameman, and crow again and have another squint at the gamey, and try to crow and keep his eye on the game rooster at the same time. But Jim never committed himself, until at last he appeared to gape just after Bill's whole crow went wrong, and Bill spotted him. He reckoned he'd caught him this time, and he got down off the wood heap and went for the foe. But Jim ran away, and Bill ran after him. Round and round the wood heap they went, and round the shed, round the house and under it, and back again, and round the wood heap, and close on an hour they went round and round the other way and this way, and kept it up for close on an hour. Bill's bill was just within an inch or so of the game rooster's tail feathers most of the time, but he couldn't get any nearer, do how he liked. And all the time the fellas kept chiking Page and singing out, "What price you gaming, Page? Go it, Bill, go it, old cock," and all that sort of thing. Well, the game rooster went at it as if it was a go as you please, and he didn't care if it lasted a year. He didn't seem to take any interest in the business, but Bill got excited, and by He got mad. He held his lid lower and lower, and his head lower, and his wings further and further out from his sides, and prodded away harder and harder at the ground behind him, but it wasn't any use. Jim seemed to keep ahead without trying. They stuck to the wood heap towards the last. They went round first one way for a while, then the other for a change, and now and then they'd go over the top to break the monotony, and the chaps got more interested in the race than they would have been in the fight, and bet on it too. But Bill was handicapped with his weight. He was done up at last. He slowed down till he couldn't warrel, and then he was thoroughly knocked up. That game rooster turned on him and gave him the father of a hiding. And my father caught me when I'd got down in the excitement and wasn't thinking, and he gave me the stepfather of a hiding. But he had a lively time with the old lady afterwards, over the cockfight. Bill was so disgusted with himself that he went under the cask and died.
That's a sad tale.
Poor old Bill. This one for Bill Arnett. I was happy to get to it eventually for you, Bill. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed reading the story a couple of times through the week. We're going to do a little medley of things from Victoria now, and then we're going to get the girls. Megan and Joanna have both been working on some bits and bobs for you. I won't say any more about what they're going to do, but I'm excited to hear both of them. Yeah, we've just been thinking of Victorians a lot. I guess we all have. And for those of you who are down that way now, and those who are, well, let's just say thanks. I mean, it must have been really, really tough to stay.
It still is.
And yes, still is. We're seeing some such good numbers. So just thanks and congratulations. And you're a model to not only the rest of Australia, but the rest of the free world could take some lessons about how well you've done down there. Thanks. The first piece in this medley that we'll do from Victoria comes from Lame Jack Cousens. Actually, it comes from Stephen Foster. And Stephen Foster songs, generally speaking, carry beautiful melodies. And some of the words are amazing too. I mean, who could deny hard times come again no more? But some of the words that were written by Stephen in the mid-19th century are of their time, and they were to us today, and it seems like they were radically sentimental. We did at the last Variety concert, I think we did Old Dog Tray, where instead of it being like an old Shep style song about losing your dog and being mournful and wretched, well, you do lose your dog, but you'd lose him first of all because the license tax was too dear.
Yeah.
And then he ends up he can't eat, but eventually he's tempted with some pies in which he recognises the flavour of his old dog Tray. In other words, Stephen Foster's songs were treated very badly in the bush.
Well, this particular one, though, I believe was a song written about his grandma, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. So this
Or
is
a grandma,
Gentle
anyway.
Annie. It's become known as quite a famous Australian bush song. I believe Lane Jack Cousens from Springhurst was the first, just over the border from New South Wales in Springhurst. I believe that's where it started, but a lot of people have sung this. Martin Wyndham Reed, Danny Spooner, lots of people. And it's just a grand song. And when the bush singers got their hands on Gentle Annie, which Stephen had written about his recently departed grandmother, well, let's just say it's no longer about the fella's grandmother.
No.
For sure and certain. And then we'll go down and straight out of that we'll play a shot east from Harry Axford's. Axford down in Eckland South. John McKinnon actually played this tune, but he knew it as Harry Axford's shot east. And the last song in this little medley is a song called, it's quite a famous song, I guess.
Are we doing Bill McCoy's?
Oh, Bill McCoy's, yeah. We will jump over Bass Strait and do one from
Quick
Northern
Tassie
Tassie in there. And then we'll finish off this medley with a song we learnt from listening to Declan Affley sing it. But it was written, it came from, Jack Wright in Coogee. Jack was a good songwriter too. He wrote Battler's Ballad. But this is a traditional song that he picked up somewhere. It's from Castlemaine. Hello, Jim. Hi, Janet. Nice to see you too.
I'm sure it can't be packed in New South Wales, but you'd better put a fence round those cabbage, or they'll be all head up by the snails. And you'll take my advice, gentle Annie, and you'll watch the old chaffee going away, with his pack bag hung on his saddle, and he stole some knives and forks the other day. When the springtime comes, gentle Annie, and the wildflowers scatter o'er the plain, shall I never more behold you? I'll never hear your witty voice again. They are yoked, gentle Annie, and with you I can no longer stay. So I'll bid you farewell, gentle Annie, and hope to meet another threshing day. We're travelling on the road into Bona, gathering up a feed of Billy Yates. Shall we meet again, gentle Annie, next year when we're threshing round your door? I'll never forget you, dear Annie, the little dark-eyed girl that I adore.
I'm 16,000 miles from home, my heart is fairly aching to think that I should humble so, to come out here stone breaking. On the road I took to Castlemaine, I met a subcontractor. He eyed me and studied me as a parson or a doctor with me. Now I told was out of work. I wanted some employment. Said, here you do, you stink of sand. You've had too much enjoyment. Go over onto yonder hill, get from that bloke a hammer. And 9 and 6 it is you pay, and 9 and all that's grammar. With me, titty for lido. So I battered and whacked the hole, and they yet even I grew spiteful. With the sight I didn't know what to do. I hadn't broke me hatful. Just then the boss he came along, said you'll have to alter. You'll be getting no run of the store, be gone. You haven't earned your salsa with me. Titty for lido. Down on the heap, with that I did consider. Well, I knocked the dust from off me boots, and I battered me old black beaver. Bad luck then to me mum and dad, they reared me up so lazy. With a silver spoon, I'm a regular loon. With hunger I'm very near crazy. With me titty for lido. Hey! Join the army, I'll go and enlist the rifle. And if I get shot, I'll forget the light. All hunger and all trifle with me. Yeah, Jack Wright sang that one. A colonial experienced man who's come out to see if he can make something of himself in the colonies. And in that particular song, the answer seems to be no. No, he can't. Well, Chloe just sort of rounds up the girls. I'll just explain for those who are joining in that this is Saturday streaming number 13, and the way we've decided to run it, and it seems to be working pretty well, is we've got here's Joanna. Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
It's a free show, but we really love it if people do decide to donate. So the question there is the instrument, a ukulele. No, Chloe's playing a mandolin. It's actually an Australian mandolin, a Peter Coombe mandolin from down in Candlo. Yeah. Beautiful instrument. Yeah, so there is a link there to our website. It's very easy to donate if you are inclined. Yep, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Joanna's got, I think, a knock-knock joke, a very brand new poem, and another joke, yes. For those who can't read Joanna's shirt, it says, "Good girl, terms and conditions apply." All right, Joanna, you got a knock-knock joke for us?
Okay, knock knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo hoo.
Oh, don't cry.
Oh.
That's around your bedroom.
That's
what I mean.
Sing
a silly dancing song. And ride a red balloon.
Oh, red balloon.
Ride it off to Venus, ride it off to Mars. Sing a silly dancing song. And lift among the stars. Ride it across the ocean. Ride across the deep. Sing a silly dancing song. And sing yourself to sleep.
Knock knock.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Good.
Good who?
Good night.
See ya. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you. And our big girl Megan has got one for you as well. I'll hand over to Megan now.
This is a Dr. Seuss poem that I think has some relevance today. I think will always have relevance. I think I remember I heard it a couple of days ago. I think Mum was reading it to Joanna, and I thought, oh goodness, I'm going to have to learn that, aren't I? And then I realized we had the variety show on soon, so I thought I might as well. one day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zax and a south-going Zax. And it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. There they stood, foot to foot, face to face. "See here now," the north-going Zax said. "I say, you're blocking my path. You are right in my way. I'm the north-going Zax, and I always go north, so get out of my way now and let me go forth." "Who's in whose way?" said the south-going Zax. I always go south, making south-going tracks, so you're in my way. And I ask you to move, and to let me go south in my south-going groove." The north-going Zax said, with north-going pride, "I never have taken a step to one side, and I'll prove to you that I won't change my ways if I have to keep standing here 59 days. "And I'll prove to you," yelled the south-going Zax, "that I can stand here in the prairie of Prax for 59 years. For I live by a rule that I learned as a boy back in south-going school. Never budge. That's my rule. Never budge in the least. Not an inch to the west, not an inch to the east. And I'll stand here, not budging. I can and I will, if it makes you and me and the whole world stand still." Well, the world didn't stand still. The world grew and grew, and after a time a new highway came through, and they built it right over those two stubborn Zax who stood there, unmoving, unbudged, in their tracks.
Yay! Thank you, Megan G. What is a variety night without some Dr. Seuss? In fact, what is any gig without some Dr. Seuss? We're big fans in this house. Tony was out there and requested something that we'd already decided to do in this variety night, which is some string band tunes from Darwin. That's the book, String Bands and Shake Hands. Thank you, Jeff Caulfield, who introduced us to this music of Val McGuinness and the Darwin String Bands. Within that book is one of the great hidden, almost hidden treasures of Australian culture and Australian music. It's an extraordinary history those Darwin String Bands have, and that's Val on the front there. The music was nearly lost, but we're going to play some now, which proves it wasn't. And Tony, I just noticed I did the transcription. I probably knew that last time I looked at the book. I need to read the book again. Well done, Tony. Thank you too. Important work, eh? There's a lot of these things only live in people's minds, and very pleased to know that we didn't lose the Darwin String Band tunes. We've got now one of their great tunes, one of the very, very well-known tunes these days, I think, almost the greatest hits of Australian folk music. We've been playing this tune for 20-something years, and we never tire of it. It's called the Tea Tree Waltz, yeah. And then we'll play two quick steps from the Darwin String Bands as well. It's a remarkable history. Lots of mandolins. Mandolins are quite rare in the Australian tradition, but they had a lot up there. Battalions of mandolins, that's right. We got a wonderful chance a few years ago to play music with Ali Mills and, at the National Festival, and so gigs at Red Ochre in Dubbo and stuff. And, oh boy, just 100% musician, powerhouse on stage. And the music goes on and the music continues.
There was a very distinctive feel in her songs.
Sure was, yeah. So, yeah, we said we'd try and get around Australia tonight, and yeah, here's some from Darwin, from the good old days of Darwin. That's what Chloe's tuning there.
Sorry.
I'll mention, I believe that the string bands had two separate repertoires, one for the riverbank and one for the administrator and the posh gigs. We've all been there too, we can relate to that.
Ah,
I love that extra note on the end, Chloe.
Yeah, that
This
was
is your own sort of invention.
magnificent.
Aren't they great tunes? And Margaret, I will definitely put some more information about Jeff Caulfield's String Bands and Shake Hands book. I don't know if Jeff's got any left, but maybe he does. I hope he does. But certainly we can get the details to him and share as best we can. You probably know Jeff. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Hey, we've got a poem for you now. It's a request from Joanna. If it's going to make any giggle, it's going to make a variety night. This is Roger Montgomery's poem. Roger from Dingo's Breakfast. A lot of you know Roger's fantastic writer and performer of Australian material, or any kind of material. He's fantastic to work with and supremely talented at what he does. This poem that Roger wrote is up on the wall at his dentist's, I believe, over there in Western Australia. Told you we'd get around the country a bit today, over in Western Australia. Yeah, bear that in mind. It's up on the wall of his dentist's. Would you say today? We'd be better on the roof.
It would be better on the roof, yes.
Anyway, so this is a tale that Roger tells about his uncle Jimbo. Roger's got some terrific songs and stories and a show called Drowning in a Lunatic Soup. That's one of them I know.
Dingoes.
About Uncle Jimbo, and that's a true story, of course. This is a story of love, pain, fear, and the whole dentistry thing. So it all started late one 10-bong, 8-bottle night. Whilst catnapping under the sofa, I found an ageing minty. "Oh, beauty!" I bawled, popped it in, paper and all, bit, and a large molar crackingly disintegrated. Streaks of white fire girdled my head. I bit the inside of my lip, it bled and it bled, popping painkillers till my knackers went numb, whilst all the while awful pain vile twanged round my jaw with a razor-edged thrum. And thusly I howled down the long night and into the dawn, when, pale and drawn, I did stumble through that denticle door with a fear and a pain-crazed heart. Said the dentist, "Oh, don't look so afeard, I'll just root through your beard." And wielding 2 chromed crowbars, he levered my jawbones apart. "Oh, I'm dying," I grunted, as through my cake-hole he hunted, scrabbling around down my throat. His breath left me troubled, and one nostril bubbled, and the overall odour was reminiscent of goat. Well, he heaved up and down, bracing his knees on my neck, grunting and grinding. The pain was quite blinding, as he roared, "Oh, this mouth is a terrible wreck." Then he let out a crazed shout. Hand and pincers flew out with a juicy and quite crunchy crack. "Is it gone?" says I. "Oh, bugger your tooth," he bellowed in language uncouth. "I've just stuffed the lower half of me back." Well, my last straw snapped. With a glare, I leapt from the chair, squeezed his neck till his eyeballs extruded. He squeezed my neck too, till we both turned bright blue. Civilization's thin veneer quite viciously occluded, and like wild beasts uncaged, up and down his surgery we raged, till, with a most unnursey-like roar, his dental aid leapt through the air, smacked me and my jaw back into the chair, and rabbit punched that mad bastard dentist flat out on the floor. "You bubbleheads," she blasted. Her bright white-clad breasts were heaving with passion as, wild-eyed and ashen, she bawled us both out, punctuated by swift kick and clout for conducting ourselves in such insane and asinine fashion. Well, the dentist agreed, as his bridge work she need, but he picked himself and his pliers up off the floor. "That thing I will find!" "Yeah, pig's bum," I opined, as I accelerandoed my way out the door. "Oh, next time I'm in pain I'll call in again, but it's your aid I'll be coming to see." Another cracking punch on the dial to remove chopper vile, and once again, dentist the menace, you will not get your fee. Now the upshot of this saga of dreadfulistic dentalistic push and shove is that powerfully pugilistic nurse and I are now very much in love. Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Now something completely different.
a couple of people saying they've got problems with the live stream. I've been watching it go out here. I hope that that's happening at other ends, not here. But for those who are tuning in, maybe for the first time or relatively new, what we try and do, technology willing, if the creeks don't rise, we'll upload it straight to YouTube. So not only hopefully does it hang around on Facebook, but we put it up to YouTube. We put a track listing on it. Megan's really clever. She puts timestamps on the songs, so you can just zoom in straight into the thing you wanted to hear or the thing you missed out on. But I am sorry if you are struggling at your end. It can happen, and we have had snow.
YouTube tomorrow if all else fails.
Yeah, it is not impossible that it's at this end because we've had some snow over the last couple of days and a bit of rain as well. Spring snow in Milthorpe, very, very enjoyable. Magical place when the snow starts coming down, but it can make the internet, the Wi-Fi a little bit interesting. Hey, we're back up to the territory now with a song. We played one earlier called the Great Hay Rain that we played. That we said we were inspired by a cover that Michael O'Rourke did. There's a new Michael O'Rourke CD out. I hope you're aware of that. Again, if you're interested, I'll put something up there later on.
Yeah, recordings of Michael himself.
Yeah, live. Michael O'Rourke live. It's a real treasure. It's amazing to have it just up here. Michael, we're playing a couple of covers that Michael did, or traditional type work, but Michael was probably the equal of any songwriter I've ever heard. It's just amazing. Incredible songwriter. But this is a song he sang, a traditional song. It may be the best traditional song in Australia. It's certainly right up there. Right up there.
We learned it from Greg O'Leary.
Yeah. It's the Reedy Lagoon. For those folks listening up in the top end, it's one for you guys.
The sweet smelling water blows perfume around, enticing the bird and the bee. As I lie here at rest on a fern-covered nest in the shade of a courage tree, and high overhead I can hear the sweet strains of a butcher bird pipe in her tune. For spring in her glory has come once again to the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. My swag I have carried for many is the mile. My boots are worn out at the toes, and I'm dressing this season in a far different style to those of last season, God knows. My cooking utensils, I'm sorry to say, consist of a knife and a spoon, but there's bread, beef and tea in a battered jack shay on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. And where is the lady I often caressed, the one with the deep dreamy eyes? She pillows her head on some other man's breast while he tells her the very same lies. I doubt now that she would be willing to share as I eat by the light of the moon. But it's little I care, for it's hard to keep square on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. breaker. Now couldn't he ride? And Jimmy, the kind-hearted boy, I hear that of late he has taken a bride, a Benedict's life to enjoy. And Big Jock, the stockman, I once heard him say, he'd wrestle the famous Muldoon. But they're all far away, and I'm lonely today on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon.
It's a lovely song. One of my very favourites. Might be the best Australian song, best traditional Australian song. And yeah, we were inspired by Greg O'Leary and the Harvest Moon Band. And yeah, Michael O'Rourke originally, when we first heard that one. We've got a song now that has some words that were written, conceivably it says. People think that it might have been written by Robert Service. I mentioned that we've had a couple of days of snow here in the spring. It's been a very strange weather, real dip into cold weather again, and some good snow falling. Not huge amounts settling, fair bit settling through the night, but it just put this one in our mind. It's a song of... we've got 3 love songs actually. We're going to get Iceworms and Georgie sounds and Whatsaname. 3 very disreputable love songs to finish up with.
Oh, hello.
Just get this thing into a bit of tune.
Yeah, and a couple of these we've learned from the singing of Alan Musgrove.
Mm-hmm.
Alan has a huge repertoire of songs and a marvellous collection of traditional songs and traditional tunes that he plays. But I got to admit, he also knows the funniest songs of anybody that I know.
It's true. Oh, there's a husky-dusky maiden in the Arctic. She waits for me, but it is not in vain. One day I'll put my mucklocks on and ask her if she'll wed me when the iceworms nest again. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears go bouncing over the plain. In the shadow of the pole, I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the iceworms nest again. In our wedding feast, we'll have seal oil and blubber. In our kayaks, we'll run bound in Maine. All the walruses will look at us and rubber. Oh, we'll be married when the iceworms nest again. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears go bouncing over the plain. In the shadow of the pole, I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the iceworms nest again. And when the blooming iceberg's bound around us, she'll present me with a bouncing baby boy. All the walruses will dance a rumble around us, and the polar bears will click their teeth with joy. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears go bouncing over the plain. In the shadow of the pole, I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the iceworms nest again. Make those iceworms nest, Chloe! Night at 2:30, I return to my igloo after sitting with a friend who was in pain. She'll be there with the jawbone of a bear. And she'll beat me till the iceworms nest again. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears go bouncing over the plain. In the shadow of the pole, I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the iceworms nest again. Won't we be happy when the iceworms nest again? If slightly bruised when the iceworms nest again. Oh, yes, if we can't slip a couple of love songs in at the end, we're going wrong. And from that disreputable thing to an even more disreputable thing, an Australian version of the old Marrowbone song. Some of you will know this one. It's got a good chorus too, if you feel like joining in.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see.
I'll just mention again that if you are having trouble with the internet tonight, if it's recorded all okay and it's all come out, the previous 12 have all worked, so we're hoping that it'll be there when we finish. It's a bit of a funny thing, these online gigs. You're never really quite sure.
Hello.
Yeah, send us a message if you're out there. Always reassuring. And yeah, the concerts are free, but we do very happy to take donations if anyone does want to donate. Throw a bit in the hat. Reality leaves a lot to the imagination, and we can imagine our bank account a little healthier if we try. I'll just have a look at the camera, Chloe.
Alright, make sure we're still working.
Yeah, it seems to be. So hopefully we're okay. Varieties, the spice. This is Georgie Sands. If you're looking for a moral in this song, I don't think you should.
Watch what you eat.
That's right.
She was a dreadful plague.
With my father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
Oh, she went down to the doctor, some medicine for to find. Oh, doctor, dear doctor, it's to make my old man blind.
With my father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
I'll beat to him 3 marrow-bones and make him suck them all. By the time he's got the last one sucked, he won't see you at all.
With me father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
So she gave to him 3 marrow-bones and bade him suck them all. By the time he'd got the last one sucked, he couldn't see her at all.
Well, me father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me. And she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
Oh, she took him to the water, she led him to the brim. Says Georgie,
now I'm drowned myself without you shove me in. With me father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
She took a run and then a skip to shove her Georgie in. But sly enough for Georgie, it was she who tumbled in.
With me father lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well. She was not fond of me.
Oh, she took a run and then a jump to shove a Georgie in. But Georgie popped to one side and flop she tumbled in.
With me feather lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well, she was not fond of me, no.
And Georgie with the long stick, he poked her further in.
With me feather lied a lavity, and she was not fond of me. She liked another one twice as well, she was not fond of me. What's a variety night without disreputable songs? And we're going to finish with probably the most disreputable song of all. Yes. This song was actually written by Alan Musgrove, and apart from Alan being a great collector of Australian songs and singer of Australian songs, done as much for Australian music as anyone. He's a very, very talented and sharp man, but he's also a fantastic songwriter. Doesn't write many songs. The other thing Alan's been working on lately is Australian fiddle music. Working really hard to research and then play Australian tunes with an Australian fiddle style. Much like the songs, Australian music seem to knock the flowery edges off a lot of songs. So the songs get straightened out a little bit. Those supernatural edges often go. The decorations often go in the fiddle tunes. It's dancing in much bigger places out in Australia, so volume was important. Yeah, we thank Alan for all his work. He's got all his records and we love them all. And we play them often. Thank you for joining us. Saturday streaming number 13. Sorry if the internet's been a bit dodgy for you, but as we say, it'll be up on YouTube, all things being equal. Just usually by the morning. In fact, usually about halfway through the night, I think. It is a free concert. We don't want anyone to pay, but we want you to come and join in the fun regardless of any intent or ability to pay. Some people are being very generous and donating because they can. It's not hard, I don't think. It's straight onto our website. There's a link in the comments. Throw some in the hat by just pushing the donate button. Another thing people have chosen to do, which has been really nice, is buy an album or buy a download album. If you're into MP3s,
you can set a price for a download.
Yeah. So some people are saying, "Oh, I'll buy an album and I'll chip in a bit extra just to help out." But yeah, we really want you to come along regardless. We've had fun tonight. I love these variety nights. They're it's a bit helter skelter and chaotic, but it's good fun. And thanks for your company. Well, I used to go out drinking till I just had no idea. I couldn't remember anything after 200 or 300 beers. I went home one night to Whatsaname. Well, life was on the kids. Yeah, the cheese and kisses it up and left, and she took the Billy Liz. If I could only have Whatsaname back again. This thing I'm in might be resolved. I do the lackeys and hooses have got me, well, you know. And I just can't see this fella getting involved. I was in the whatchamacallit.
It's a pub.
I was having a couple of drinks. I can't remember the word for it though. No. I really just can't think. It was then I ran out of doodads. But it didn't matter because this fella, he lent me the taxi fare, but I don't know who he was. If I could only have Whatsaname back again. This thing I'm in might be resolved. I do the lackeys and hooses have got me, well, you know. And I just can't see this fella getting involved. Take it, Chloe. Now if only for just one time I could see me thingamy boss. Well, I was saying to my mate Terry, although I think I called him Rob. Well, I said so on and so forth. I was holding back the tears, but I couldn't remember what I was talking about, so I had another beer. If I could only have Whatsaname back again. This thing, oh, I'm in might be resolved. But do the lackeys and hooses have got me, well, you know. And I just can't see this fella getting involved. Now the gizmo's going down, and I'm standing in the rain. Well, Whatsaname is not interested, and I feel just the same. All the things we did together, oh, she said they really stunk. So she got the doobs and the gizmos, and I got pissed blind drunk. If I could only have Whatsaname back again. Oh, this thing, oh, I'm in might be resolved. But do the lackeys and hooses have got me, well, you know. And I just can't see this fella getting involved. No, I just can't see this fella getting involved. Alan Musgrove's Whatsaname. We've come to the end of our second variety show. I hope you've had fun. We've really enjoyed tonight. We enjoyed Bill the Rooster. I really enjoyed Megan and Joanna's work tonight as well. Megan has a way of picking the right poem for the times. And Joanna only picked up that poem a couple of days ago. She's going really well with that too. I'm going to stop now because I've obviously lost my voice completely. But good night, everybody. Hope you're doing well out there. It's an interesting time as the sort of restrictions are lifted around the place, and just take care, and on we go. We're living in interesting times. And, yeah, we'll see you at the next one. Oh, next one. Next week we do our third of the 3 Henry Lawson shows that we're calling The Soul of a Poet. We've done 2 hour-and-a-half shows already, dealing with various aspects and singing Henry songs and doing Henry poems and telling stories. Yeah,
we're going to move into a couple of different areas of Henry's life. For this one?
We're going to show you that Henry Lawson's life, despite what a lot of people think, the last 20-something years of Henry's life were not always as miserable and as down and out and as broken as... They certainly were at times, but there's some good stories in there. Some really good stories in there, so we hope to see you next Saturday night. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.